guys, and welcome back to my kitchen. Today we are going to make my mom's famous Dutch apple pie. I have been eating this my whole life. It is so good, and I'm going to share with you guys how to make it so that you can start making this for your Thanksgiving and Christmas get-togethers, or actually there's never a wrong time to have it. But she always puts hers in a glass pie plate like this, so that's what I'm going to do, keep tradition. And then she always uses the green Granny Smith apples. And the reason being is because when you add a tart to a sweet like butter and sugar and cinnamon, it's the perfect combination. I am not gonna change it. But you definitely can use a crisp apple like Honey Crisp or Pink Lady or anything like that. But it's gonna take, if you have larger apples, it's gonna only take about 4 to 5 of the large ones. But since I have quite a few small ones, it's probably gonna take closer to 7. So we'll see how it looks whenever we get these cut up. But I'm gonna get started with the pie crust first. So I'm gonna push this up in your face. And we are gonna start with that. So I already have 3 cups of all-purpose flour measured out. And we're gonna put just about 1/2 teaspoon of salt, just dash some of that in there. Now I have 1 cup of Crisco measured out, just vegetable shortening. And I always wet my cup before I put the Crisco in there, and it helps it slide out so much easier. And for those of you who are wondering what I'm talking about, just vegetable shortening, but I always like the Crisco brand. Make sure it's fresh and hasn't been sitting in your counter for a long time, or it will kind of have a taste to it that you don't like. I do not have a pastry blender, so I just use the trick with 2 butter knives. But we are going to go in there and cut this Crisco into the flour until it forms little bitty, they always say pea size, that's what I was trained to say. But cut it up until it's little pea size pieces and blended well together. It should only take about 2 minutes. Okay, I think that's good. So kind of look at that. That's what it should kind of look like. And then in my cup, I filled this cup up with 1/2 cup of water, and then I topped it off with ice because we want really ice cold water, but you're only gonna use about 1/3 to 1/2 of a cup. So I just have a little jar lid to kind of keep that ice from going down in there. And we're gonna gradually add this water. About 1/3 of it. And then I just have my large spoon, and we're just going to gently start blending this together. And just kind of push it in from the sides. And I am gonna get in there with my hands once I know that it's getting close to being done. But I just wanna keep that dough as cold as I can. So that's why I'm using my metal spoon. Okay, it's definitely gonna need some more. Maybe that's enough, but if it needs more, we'll put a little bit more in there. Okay, pulling my sleeves up for this part. Little bit more, so I'm going to put just a tad bit more in here. About a tablespoon, I would say. love, love, love a good apple cinnamon Dutch apple pie. I love a pecan pie. I'm gonna show you guys how to make that one soon. It is such a good recipe. I have to show you how to make the pumpkin roll for those of you who may have never made that. That's something that we look forward to around Thanksgiving. Oh yeah, that's coming together really nicely. So yeah, when it starts forming a ball like that, a shaggy ball, I guess you would say, it's done. So I'm just gonna keep pushing those little last pieces in there with it. Okay, and then I am going to separate that into 2 pieces. And kind of form a disc with it. Like that. And do that with the other side because we need a bottom crust and a top crust for an apple pie. Just like that. Okay. Now I'm gonna get a mat out and we are going to roll this out. And you guys are probably gonna laugh at me. I don't have a pie mat, but I have a sewing mat to cut things straight. And I have cleaned that, and that's what we're using to roll our pie crust on. I know that it needs to be about as wide as this is to be able to fit into that plate nicely. And then look at how pretty this is. My Uncle Jerry, he made that for me and I love it. It's just so pretty. I love to use that. Okay, so you want to make sure that your mat is floured really well. And then you also want to make sure that you rub some of that flour on your rolling pin. Okay, we're gonna start out with our disc. And we're going to sprinkle some flour on that. We don't want it to stick. We wanna make sure that it fits nicely in the pan and doesn't stick. So I'm just gently, I'm not pushing hard. And I'm just gonna keep going in all the different directions until it forms a really nice circle. That will fit about 1 inch over our pie plate. We like a good flaky crust. Okay, we're gonna make sure it's not sticking. Putting a little more flour on both sides. And then flouring the top again. And then rubbing some on the rolling pin again and get started again. Okay, it's doing good not to stick. I just wanted to check it again. Okay, now I have to move my apples. That's my oven. I have preheated it to 350. Okay, it looks like I need to go out a little bit this way. Okay, that's nice. That should fit really well. So let's put that right there. And all we are going to do is fold this in two. Gently set this right on top of the pie plate. Just fold it down in there like so. Don't pull it and stretch it, just kind of push it. Okay, it needs to go this way a little. Just a quick little jump. So I'm lifting up on the outside and just kind of pushing it in, is what we are doing here. And I'm gonna kind of pinch that together right there. So I want it to hang over that full inch. Okay, pie crust one is ready. So I'm gonna go ahead and get the second one ready, and then we're gonna fill this up with our chopped apples. I'm gonna show you how to get those chopped up and into the pie and finish this off to get into the oven. So good. Okay, just the same method as we did before. Flour on the bottom, flour on the top, and flour on the rolling pin. And then just from the center, gradually start rolling in all the directions to create the circle. Okay, I can tell it needs floured. So start out with that bottom side. More on the top and more on the pan. If you've never made pie crust, don't get upset if it doesn't turn out the first time. Sometimes it takes time to kind of feel the crust, the consistency, the texture, but if you'll follow this, it should be pretty easy for you. So today mine took more than the half a cup of water. I had started with a half a cup of water and put ice in it, but I would say it took closer to 3/4 of a cup of water. want this one to be big enough to go over all those apples we're about to put in there. Okay, so we're gonna set this to the side. A little bit more that way. Okay, so go ahead and get that ready to go on top of the apples. Okay, so I'm just gonna take that bowl that had my flour in it to put my apple scraps in and show you how we are going to, I just start from one end and do the ribbon method, go all the way around, taking off as little of the apple as you can. Pour that little center out right there. I just plopped that on my floor. Okay, and then I just half it. This is how my mom always did it. And then half that one. And then we'll cut out the little core pieces like that. And then we're just gonna cut this right into our pie crust. And you wanna cut them about that thick, maybe 1/4 of an inch. You don't want them any bigger or they are going to stay kind of crunchy, and we want them to cook nice and soft. So I'll show you how to do one more, just that little core right there, and any seeds that are in the center of these. We're gonna take out and just slice them right into your pie plate. So I'm gonna finish doing these, not make you guys have to watch this whole process. And then we're gonna finish up. Kind of just wanted to show you, this one had a little bit more of the core, and any bad spots like that and anything that is a core is going to be hard and it won't cook soft. So you want to make sure all of that is out of there. Little apple pieces, okay? Same thing with this one. This one off while you guys are watching. I'll do one apple for you. Okay. That one's a little thicker than I want, so I'm gonna slice it into. Okay, I'm gonna finish these apples up, guys, and then we'll finish this apple pie. Now, this is what it should look like once your apples are all diced up nicely or sliced up nicely and put into your first pie crust. And now we're gonna make the filling that's going to go on top of the apples that gives it that thick, yummy gooiness that we're gonna love so much. And we're gonna start out with 1 cup of sugar. We're going to add in 3 tablespoons of flour, and this is what's gonna make it thick and not be a watery mess. We don't want that. So your flour is just for a thickener. And then we're going to put, I believe it's 1 teaspoon of cinnamon. I almost overpowered us with the cinnamon. But I usually do. Usually when I am cooking with cinnamon or making smoothies, I usually add about 2 or 3 times as much, but I'm following my mom's recipe. So 1 teaspoon of cinnamon. And we're just going to mix that up nicely. I love the smell of cinnamon. So good. And then we are just going to take that mixture and sprinkle into your pie plate. Let me get this a little closer to me. Try to keep it off of the edges of the pie. Some people mix all of this in a bowl and then they add it in there, but like I said, I'm trying to do it like my mama does it, and she does it real easy. She makes it look real easy without messing up a lot of dishes, and it turns out so good. We're gonna shake that around just a little bit to make sure it gets in there pretty evenly. So just give it a good little shake. And last but not least, yes, 1 stick of butter. And you're just going to cut them in about this size cubes and just place them all over the pie, wherever you can fit them, and make it as even as possible. A cup of sugar and a stick of butter. You can't go wrong with that. Okay, so that part is done. And now we're just gonna put the last piece of the puzzle on this pie, which is the top pie crust. So far, this is what we're looking like. And now let's put the top pie crust on. Okay, it's just been hanging out over here. So we're just gonna set that right on top and pull this over like so. Let's get rid of this thing. Okay. Try and be gentle. That thing's wanting to get holes in it. Okay, so now I'm just gonna take my knife and cut like so, to where you still have a good 1/2 inch or so on the other side of the plate. And guys, you can use the scraps. You can put this in the refrigerator for a day or so. You can make little chicken pot pies for your supper and use those as your little toppers. My granny used to take the scraps of her pie crust and she made what was called a chocolate roll, and I'll definitely have to show you how to do that sometime. Okay, so now we're gonna fold that under. Okay, so now we're just gonna take this crust and fold it under where it kind of seals it off. I left a little too much right there. If you want to impress your family at Thanksgiving or Christmas, or just because Sunday dinner, football game night, whatever the case may be, make them one of these. They will love you forever. Okay, so now we're just gonna go and we're gonna push with our fingers and create a nice little edging just to give it some decor. And however it's easier for you. And take your fingers and push. I have seen that method. Or you can just take your thumb in between your fingers and pinch. You can take a fork and go around the edges if that's the look that you love. It really doesn't matter. Get that one a little wonky. Let's do that one again. Little wonky donkey. It happens, it's okay. I think that looks very pretty. And now you don't want to forget to vent the top. And so she just kind of always started in the middle and kind of made it like you were going to cut a piece of pie. Now you can put designs if you want to, but she just always made it look like the pie was already ready to be cut and served. She's gonna have to make it for us this Thanksgiving for sure. It's one that we always request that she make, but I'm gonna see if I can do it justice today for you guys. Okay, so it's vented just like that. And then just a little trick, she uses milk. I don't have milk, so I'm just gonna take a little bit of water and rub over the top just to get my sugar to stick, because she always had a little sugar on the top, and that makes it pretty and it makes it just have a little extra sweetness to it. And that is just regular granulated sugar, and you're just barely misting it. And that's it, guys. All right, we're gonna pop that in the oven. It's been preheating, it's set at 350, and it's gonna take about 50 to 60 minutes to bake. You want the apples to be nice and soft. You want all of the goodness on the inside to get thick, and you want your crust to get browned. So let's pop this in the oven and see what it looks like in about 50 minutes. Okay, I told you guys I might show you what my granny used to do with her little leftover pie crust. She never let anything go to waste, guys. She actually was one that went through the Great Depression, so she didn't waste even one green bean. And my husband will love this little treat too, because he is a chocolate lover. So just kind of flatten that out. We're just gonna roll this out more in a rectangle shape if you can. And you don't have to be perfect with it. Let's not forget to flour this. Whatever shape you want to go with. We're gonna kind of try and do just a little rectangle. This already needs a little more flour on the bottom. And the top. And this is so simple, it's just silly not to do this, just to have another little sweet treat for you guys. And it is just getting this little bit of dough rolled out. I did line my little cookie sheet with parchment paper. You absolutely do not have to do that, but it is going to ooze out some of the sugar, butter, cocoa mixture, so to me it's just better the less mess you have to clean up. We're just gonna go with that shape right there, okay? You're just gonna take a little bit of butter and we're gonna cut that into little bitty pieces. That's probably about a tablespoon with how much crust that we have. Just kind of line that up like a little train pattern. And then we're just gonna take a little bit of sugar, probably about 3 tablespoons of sugar, to about 1 tablespoon of cocoa. And I guarantee you, she never measured this. You could do the same thing with cinnamon or pumpkin pie spice. I'm actually gonna go in with 1 more tablespoon, so about 4 tablespoons of sugar to 1 tablespoon of cocoa and about a tablespoon of butter. That's it. You simply fold it like a burrito. And I'm gonna fold the ends twice and kind of pinch that off. And this is just an old-fashioned chocolate roll. That is something nice to do with some leftover crust. But like I said, guys, you can save that and you can wrap it up in saran wrap and put that pie crust in the refrigerator for a day or 2. And it also makes really good toppers for chicken pot pie. But just like that, it's that simple. And again, I've got my little water cup here. I'm just gonna brush that. Kind of get that dough on the ends to stick together a little bit better so it doesn't pop open. And then just sprinkle that top with a little bit of that sugar. And we're gonna put this in the oven for about 30 minutes, 25-30 minutes. And it's okay to put it right in there with that apple pie. You don't wanna slide it off, but you see what that looks like. It's like a chocolate burrito. I'm gonna push the apple pie over to the side, slide this right in there with it, and like I said, it's gonna take maybe 25 or 30 minutes for this to get done. And again, the sugar is still gonna have a little bit of a crunch to it. That's what it's supposed to have. That's what makes it awesome, so don't think you messed up. It just is a yummy, fun, simple, sweet treat. All right, the chocolate roll took about 25 minutes, and I told you some of that ooey gooiness was gonna come out. Okay. Okay, so that pan is still hot, so you still have to be careful, but guys, it's so pretty. That is a yummy chocolate roll. Let's flip it around so you can see the part that's kind of folded over. That's gonna be so good. So we'll give that maybe 15, 20 minutes to cool down just a little bit, and we're gonna eat it. We're gonna eat that tonight. Look at that. So pretty, guys. Let's pull that out. I want you to smell that. Okay, well, at least look at how pretty it is. That is so pretty. Okay. You see that ooey gooey caramel type goodness that come out of the top just a little bit. It's just so pretty, guys. And this is not one of those pies that you need to cut immediately. You want to wait for about an hour before you cut into this. I can see the steam coming off of it. You're gonna give the insides time to do their thing and kind of thicken up, because if you cut into it right now, it's gonna be watery. It's not gonna stay the way that you want it. It's gonna be a little bit juicy when you cut into it because of that butter. You could definitely cut back to a half a stick of butter if you wanted to. I don't recommend it. I'm okay with a little bit of that gooiness, but to me, this is the perfect ratio. I'm not gonna change it up because to me, it's the perfect ratio of crust to apples to filling, and it's exactly the way that I love it. I've tried a lot of different pies in my life, apple pies, and this is the winner right here. So I'm not changing mine. But this is gonna fall a little bit because when those apples settle down, it's gonna kind of flatten out just a little bit. It's okay. It is still so yummy. That's what I'm looking for. That's exactly what I wanted, and I hope you'll give it a try. We'll cut into this in about an hour and let you guys see what it looks like, and you'll get to see me enjoy taking a bite. And then my chocolate roll over there is just about ready to cut into. I actually think it is. And this pie I actually cooked for an hour and 5 minutes, so it probably did change the time of the cooking just a little bit because I stuck that chocolate roll in there with it. But normally it's gonna take about an hour to bake. So let's push that over, put it right up in your face, and then I'm gonna go get that chocolate roll. Let's try this. Whew, you hear that crunch? It's just got that little bit of chocolate and butter and sugar on the inside. See that? Okay, I'm gonna try a bite of that. It's just simple, nothing fancy, but so good. It reminds me of my grandma's house. Old-fashioned chocolate roll. And you could probably double up on the insides if you wanted to. While we're waiting on this pie to cool and it smells so good, I wanted to share a hobby with you that I have started doing, and that is scripture writing. This is just basic notebook paper and markers and Crayola crayons and a simple 3-ring binder that I'm just gonna be storing these in there. But this is out of Psalms 3:3. And it says, "But you, O Lord, are a shield for me, my glory, and the one who lifts up my head." I have just decided to do some artwork and do it out of God's word and with daily scripture. So I encourage you to do the same thing. It's a lot of fun, inexpensive, and it's a fun hobby. Do it while you're watching TV, sitting on your porch swing, enjoying the cool evening air, early in the morning, whatever it is you like to do it. But anyway, I encourage you to start. been about an hour, so we're gonna cut this pie and see what it tastes like. And I'm just gonna follow the little lines. That I created while it was baking. Make sure that cuts through really well. Something's still stuck over here. I can feel it. Missing out on any of that. And the longer it sets, the thicker this will get. And I want you to look at the yummy gooiness in there. That looks so good. Move that little apple out of the way so you can see, because it's gonna get out of the way onto my plate. Still steaming, okay? And then, look at that. Yum. Now that is while it's still warm. Like I said, you let that set overnight, it's gonna set and get even thicker. And you can just pop that in the microwave for a few seconds to heat it back up. Put some ice cream on it if you want. But I like it just like this. Okay, let's try that. It does not get any better than my mom's apple pie, guys. You have got to try this. That is so good, and I will put the recipe down in the description, so no worries there, but check it out. I hope you guys love this video. Tell me what you think of this pie if you make it, and I hope you have a blessed day.